Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Today is February 6th, 2026. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. But essentially, we're here to help small business owners access the capital that they need to start or grow a business. And the way that we focus on accomplishing that task is through SPE, special purpose entities. Legal, effective, proven, but a more advanced strategy that not everyone is familiar with. And so we've done a couple things to try to improve financial literacy about this technique, about this structure of funding. We have our website, spefunding.com, referenced here. There's a number of training videos that are there to provide individuals a more in-depth understanding. And then also we have this flyer that we'll be using to reference today. However, our main point of discussion today is to clarify some of the back office support that we provide to participants. So, what I mean is when we have a grant participant that's working with us to do a capital raise, leveraging the SPE model, our legal team is able to assist them at no charge with developing different types of documents that could be very well important for the operation of their SPE. So we'll talk about the list here in a minute, but let's go over the flyer first. Now, any of you who are distribution partners, what we call affiliates, you can become an affiliate for free, also an SPE funding. You should have a copy of this flyer to use yourself. It's editable where you can put your information at the bottom. If you don't have an editable copy of this flyer and need one, go ahead and give us a call after the Zoom and we can make sure to get that to you. So, this flyer is, I think, an effective way to relatively quickly, provide someone an overview of what is an SPE, how does it work, how is it structured. It certainly can't do the justice of going through the four training videos that are available on the website. But what do we know? Some people won't take the time or exert the energy to get the more comprehensive training. So this flyer may be all that they're aware of. It is actually attached to the participation agreement. So everyone that does participate, everyone that does enroll, gets this automatically. But with that, we give some background on the SPE. An SPE, which is sometimes called a SPV, special purpose entity or special purpose vehicle with a V at the end, means the same, is a legal entity created for a specific purpose, often to isolate financial risk and manage assets without affecting the parent company's balance sheets, often used for large capital raises. What does that mean? So instead of taking the client's prior business entity, if they have one, instead of doing the capital raise off of it, we use an SPE as the separate entity for the capital raise. So the SPE has all the risk, has all the liability. Now, can they move money from the SPE over to a different business? Yes. Can that other business then have the money to spend? Yes, but the liability stays with the SPE. So it makes a lot of sense if you understand it. Through a grant we receive, we provide SPEs for entrepreneurs looking for business funding. It's a legally compliant model, and it's structured where it's no out-of-pocket cost. Now, you all are pretty sophisticated, so you know, but that doesn't mean free. It's not a free program. It's not free. If it were free, how would we do it? How would we pay you? But instead, there's no out-of-pocket cost. The fees that are incurred come out of the capital raised, and most clients really prefer it that way. Furthermore, now we're getting a little bit deeper, and it's a little dangerous to get a little deeper. We really need people to go over and watch the training modules that are on SPE funding. But nonetheless, we're trying to give them an overview here. We set up each SPE as quote unquote a branch office through a license-based relationship. So essentially, what we're saying is if we're going to go get funding from a lender, we have to have a story. We have to have a loan package. We have to have a reason. What is it that we do? Why is it that we need money? What are we going to use it for? And so we call that the structure of the loan package. And that's immensely important. Sometimes you'll run into lesser sophisticated entrepreneurs and they see that as just a distraction. No, 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 I just need money. But that's unrealistic for larger amounts. For larger amounts, the loan package, the structure is critically important. And if it doesn't make sense, if it's not valid to the lender, they're not going to approve it. So we set up these quote unquote branch offices. The industry code, NAICS or SIC, is set up as management consulting. Why do we do that? Because it's a really good industry code to get funding off of. Do we realize that many of these entrepreneurs may be wanting to do other things, real estate, acquire other businesses or anything else? Sure, but that's what their other business does. The SPE is set up specifically as a management consulting business, getting working capital loans for that element. Now, ultimately, if they don't want to operate their SPE, the quote unquote branch office, they don't have to. There's a lot of good reasons to do it, but if they don't want to, they don't have to. And if they just want to own it and have delegation where other people do the work, they can do that as well. But once you understand that the SPE is designed to be a standalone entity specifically for the purpose of the capital raise, I think everything else makes sense. So often people don't follow that separation of function of liability, and then they get very, very confused. But these trainings on SPE funding will help them a lot. This is a quote that we added after we had received it, and the quote that was given to us is, "This is your last chance to build generational wealth. You need to get money now before you're left to become part of the permanent underclass." Pretty strong statement, but it's not my quote. There it is. All right, so what is included in this SPE branch concept? Everything is designed to be able to accomplish the capital raise, and we guarantee it. Now, sometimes we'll have clients that want to start tweaking things, they want to start changing things, and we can do a custom SPE, but it becomes more complicated. It usually will slow down the process. It's typically recommended. We've got a protocol that's proven to work, and we guarantee it'll work 100% of the time. But can we make changes? Of course, client's always right. But the way it's set up by default is no out-of-pocket cost. Didn't say it's free, not free, but all the fees associated with it, which are very minimal, by the way, are paid through the capital raise. We've covered that already. It does come with a shelf corp, and we set those up as, of course, a for-profit C corp. So it's a clean, compliant C corp. We develop out the loan package, which I made reference to, and that's everything from the business plan and financial projections and such. We do add trade lines, and these are real trade lines, real usable trade lines. Great examples would be business credit cards, business automobiles. I heard from the Porsche dealership, our new company car is supposed to be ready to pick up on Tuesday. So I'll get a couple pictures and put it up on there. But we can really help people get funding. We can really help them use these SPEs to get a company car or cars, to get a company credit card or cards, singular or plural. One of the very important elements that we built into the SPE branch office model is creating feasibility data. And we've had separate trainings on that. It's up on our YouTube channel. So we use a number of different resources, one of which is IBIS World, didn't mean to cross it out, IBIS World, to put together objective data that supports the loan request. Because again, I know a lot of your less sophisticated clients are going to say, I just want funding. The rest of this too much. I just need funding. but they don't know what they don't know. They're not going to get large amounts of funding if we don't put the package together correctly. So if you were to go to IBIS World and get just one report, one industry report, it's about $2,000 per report. We absorb all that through our program so the client doesn't have to pay for it. But we build feasibility data. What's really exciting, and this confuses people more than anything else, but it's incredibly valuable. So what we're doing in the big picture is creating a fundable business, which includes the three C's. Credit, which we just talked about how we help add trade lines, so we have a strong business credit profile. Collateral and capacity. Capacity means cash flow, and that's where a lot of these small businesses historically have struggled. They need money, of course, but they don't have any money to show that they can afford the loan they want to take. So they're kind of caught between the chicken and the egg. We've seen that be a barrier one too many times. So when we built the SPE model out, we actually provide them $250,000 of income in the first month. How does that happen? Sounds too good to be true. Well, none of this is too good to be true. Anytime someone says it's too good to be true, it's because they don't understand. They either lack the knowledge or familiarity of how it actually works. And that's where the training on SPE funding will help. But specifically, we're going to literally transfer over 25 already contracted clients. Each of them owe 10,000. And because we're transferring, now that 10,000 times 25 is owed to the SPE. And so then we work with the SPE, the branch office, to actually collect that money. So that's 250,000. If they want, we can continue to repeat that process in subsequent months, but what's included for free is for the first month. So why is that important? Well, I mean, it's real money going into their bank account, which is a good thing. It's not in lieu of the loan, of the funding, of the debt. It's in addition to, but it's really important to show the lender that, yeah, this business is real. It really can make money, and we can justify our ability to pay back a large loan. That's the most frustrating element you'll commonly see with clients is, hey, I need money. And if I had a loan, I could make money. Well, under some industry codes, we could argue that, right? Let's say that we wanted to open a hotel. Well, we would be pre-revenue until we got funding and opened the hotel, right? There's no rooms to rent out. However, with service industries like management consulting, they're going to be like, oh, that didn't make so much sense. Why couldn't you be making some money now? Of course, you would make more if you were funded. So we're overcoming that barrier here, which it's real money going into the client's bank account. Another issue that we built in is a lot of these people, they don't really want the responsibility of operating the SPE or branch office. So we give them two options. Either let's not run it at all, let's just use it as a capital raise entity, or let's operate it and we'll provide all the back office services, which kind of gets to our point over here on the right in a moment. And then, as we've talked about recently, most more sophisticated entrepreneurs went from the formation of a new business, they're already answering the question, not only how do I start this, but how do I end this? What is my exit strategy? Is it to pass the business down to my kids or family members? Is it to sell it? What is going to be my exit strategy, even though it might be quite some time down the road? And so in this case, we can literally get folks into an SPE, get them funded. We can operate it, which we just talked about, or not operate it if they don't want to, but then we could go sell it for a profit because that business has value. So those are the key components. Does anyone that's on the live Zoom, of course, have any questions on the key components? What I don't want to leave you with the impression is that this quick overview told you everything you need to know. I'm saying it doesn't. I mean, all this is accurate, but the four trainings on SPE funding are really important to go through. All right, we're not going to dig as much into the bottom just out of time preservation, but what I want to do is go over to the right-hand side and talk about the back office support, one element of it. So let me go ahead and make this larger. Oh, didn't make it larger. I made it smaller, didn't I? Made it go away. Document processing. There we go. And then we'll make it larger. All right. So when we talk about when we're setting up an SPE, a branch office, that we're providing back office support to make it easy for the owner to operate. And what we know is that in many cases, there are legal documents that might need to be created. And I wanted to briefly go through the data set that our legal team will help at no charge the SPEs with. And if you have any questions, just let us know. So we'll start with joint venture agreements. This is an important element because, as we talked about on a recent training, if you, as an affiliate, are looking to have an equity interest in these SPEs that you're bringing aboard, then there should be a documented relationship between you and them. And that's typically set up as a joint venture. Some of you are very, very sophisticated. I use that term too often, savvy, experienced. So you have your own ability to develop your JV agreements. Some of you not so much, and that's fine. So we can provide assistance with the document creation for setting up your joint ventures. The articles of incorporation are something that we frequently get asked for. It's not something that automatically is needed to get the entity form, to get the shelf corp form for the branch office. But a number of clients have come back and said, hey, I'd like to get articles of incorporation. So we can also set that up. What I need you to understand, though, is that a number of these documents, including the first two that we've covered already, they're not just some template where you just put a name on it and a date and it's done. There's often input from the client of what they want. So, for example, on the articles of incorporation, there's some decisions that need to be made. Who are the officers of the business? Who are the owners of the business, which might be one or the same? What authority do the different officers have? How many shares of stock? So we can guide through all of that, but the point is we can help at no charge set these documents up. We're not technically providing legal advice because we don't want the burden of being your legal counsel, but the bottom line is we can help you get these documents set up. Letters of intent. So we automatically provide a letter of intent of everyone that's getting an SPE because that's an important part of the funding process. But let's say that, let's take Carlos, who's on. Let's say that Carlos approaches a let's say he has a branch office and he approaches a local chamber of commerce and he wants to develop a collaborative relationship. So instead of it being just a quote unquote handshake deal, there could actually be an outline of a relationship between the two. So a letter of intent, often it's not the same as a contract because usually it's not binding either party to anything, but it's outlining the intent. So we can help create those. Corporate bylaws are also important, somewhat similar to articles of incorporation, but bylaws are an internal document that most corporations should have that, again, outlines who does what authorities, how are annual meetings held, and so forth. Business plans, you understand what those are. Corporate resolutions are important, somewhat similar to bylaws, somewhat similar to articles of incorporation. A corporate resolution is often needed by banks, but each bank can have their own requirements, by the way. But a corporate resolution says that, let's take Ernest Harris, who's on here. So the corporate resolution of Mr. Harris's business would grant him authority to do certain things. Like Ernest Harris, president of XYZ Corporation, has authority to take out loans for XYZ Corporation. So documents like the corporate resolution are important because let's say that Ernest Harris wanted to go take out a loan for Walmart Inc. Well, Ernest Harris isn't authorized to go facilitate a loan for Walmart. He's not authorized for that, but he is for his company in this example, XYZ. So that's another important document we can help create. Businesses should maintain minutes. We'll help with those documents, balance sheet, similar to business plan, and P&L. So balance sheet, of course, shows assets and liabilities. P&L shows revenue and expenses. We can set up collaboration agreements, non-compete agreements, non-disclosure agreements. If you're going to hire a sales team to work for your branch office, but you don't have to, then you might want to have contracts between you and them to outline roles, expectations, compensation. Similar but a little different, subcontractor agreements, retainer agreements, commission agreements, consulting agreements, loan agreements. This is really important, and you might not think of it. So, certainly, when we're using the SPE, the branch office, the intent is to go get a large loan from a bank or a lending institution. But even you, as an owner of a business, you might loan money to the business, or the business might loan money to you. And if it's properly documented, then that could avoid a taxable transaction. Promissory notes, demands for payment when people don't pay you, demand letters when people don't pay you, affidavits when people don't pay you, an intent to sue, buying a business purchase agreement, buy sell agreements. These are real relevant when you have multiple partners. And so I don't know if we have any partners on the call today, but we've got John Stockton and Joe Certain, two of our top referral partners. Let's say that they decided to go into business together. But if Joe or John were to die, they would want to be able to exit them out of the business. They're gone from living, gone from our earth, but they're still on records as the owner of the business. So normally we would set up a buy sell where the survivor would be able to get the deceased's portion of the business for an agreed upon price, and then that would be money that goes to the deceased's family or next of kin, and we can set that up with an insurance policy whereby it's paid for by insurance by a third party. Businesses bill of sale assignment agreements. So these are an example, but really they're meant to be more than examples. These are the documents that we would agree to assist with at no charge for the SPE branch offices. If there's something else needed, maybe we could help, but our team went through and identified these not just to be some examples, but these are the ones we would normally help with. So, who has questions on what we've covered today? We started by looking at the SPE flyer, and we clarified that that's a good one pager to give people an understanding, an introductory understanding of how the SPE branch office model works. However, it's not meant to replace going on spefunding.com and watching the 4 trainings. Furthermore, we identified that within the back office support, there are some specific things that we assist with at no charge, and the document creation is what we were focused on today. And then hopefully we introduced some of the documents that might be important, but it would not be a burden or an expense for the client, for the SPE, the branch office, to have to go pay to have created. We can help them with the document preparation. So, any questions, comments, concerns today? I think Pauline brings up a good point. She's very complimentary. So, the SPE model was designed to bring everything together so there are no surprises. It's everything that's needed. There's no extra cost, and it allows the client to have certainty of a $250,000 capital raise. So that's all kind of good. The downside is these SPEs are set up for a $250,000 capital raise. So if you have a client that needs more than 250,000, we would literally need to duplicate this multiple times, which isn't a problem, but it works well for 250 in $250,000 increments. Richard asked timeline, and that's right. We guarantee the 250,000 in 30 days, so in 1 month. And that's a guarantee that we couldn't make before because under the old legacy model, there was too much dependency on the client to be involved and do certain things. And we've learned we're better off to take care of everything ourselves for the client, minimize their amount of responsibilities. Like before, they needed to bring their collateral. We provided some, but it was only a little bit. Now we provide enough collateral so it's covered. Before, they needed to help facilitate capacity, and now we provide that. Some lenders expect an owner contribution, so maybe we can only borrow 90% of what we want. It's expected the owner puts in 10%. Well, some people don't have that. Now we provide that. So that's the big picture. And thank you, Pauline, for your nice words, is that the SPE is a better mousetrap. It will work, and we guarantee that it'll work. And for anyone that doesn't understand, we have very transparent training on spefunding.com. For those of you like Rod, like Kenneth, like Varney, those of you that are looking to help others and generate income, I mean, the commissions off of these SPEs are crazy. You're getting 5,000 up front, plus you're getting the ongoing lifetime residual of the income generated. So it's a home run. Plus, you can set up the joint ventures with them if you want to have an ownership interest, as we trained. All right, last question, and we'll hang it up. Carlos asked, is a business license needed? No, there's not a license needed for management consulting, so no license needed. The entity itself is formed, it's a C corp. We provide that, but no licenses needed. And then Eduardo's asking about month two. Yeah. So what we talked about on the prior slide was that we provide 25 clients in month one, if you remember. And so at 10,000 a piece, that's 250,000. After that point, I guess one of three things could happen. Either the owner could shut the SPE down because they would have been funded by then, and if they don't want to operate it, they can just close it. The second is they could operate it either themselves or with delegated staff. But with that, it gets to Eduardo's question, where do the clients come from afterwards? Well, one or two scenarios. Either we can continue to provide the clients for the SPE, or the SPE can actually develop its own. And that's kind of the intent because the SPE is set up as quote unquote a branch office, can get referrals from bankers and lenders and others. But we'll work with each person, each participant in the SPE. We know what's going to happen in month one. We're providing the clients the 250,000, but then we'll work with them to determine what do they want to do in the subsequent months, Eduardo. So it's up to them. Do they want us to continue to take responsibility for that? Do they want to do it, or do they just want to shut it down now that they've been funded? Eduardo asked if the SPE can be a nonprofit. I'd recommend having a separate entity as a nonprofit. The SPEs are set up specifically to be a for-profit, but yes, you could also have a nonprofit and run it in parallel because that's great for community outreach. But the model that we have here at the SPE is it's a for-profit C Corp. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I hope that you gained enough knowledge that you can go get engaged and participate. Simply go to spefunding.com or give us a call. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye bye.